Imagine for a moment that you are standing in front of a mirror, but not just any mirror. This one reflects something deeper than your physical image. It reveals the essence of who you truly are. Carl Jung, one of the most influential psychologists in history, dedicated his life to understanding this depth of the human being, what he called the process of individuation. According to Jung, this process is the path that leads us to become who we are truly meant to be, separating ourselves from the collective mass to emerge as unique and complete individuals in today's world. In a world where uniformity seems to be the norm and where millions struggle to stand out by following the same worn-out formulas, there is a different path. It is not about competing or shouting louder than the rest. It is about something more subtle yet powerful, becoming someone who cannot be ignored, a luxury rather than just another option. But what does it really mean to be a luxury? We are not talking about something material or superficial. Every person carries within them a unique treasure, an unrepeatable combination of experiences, talents, and perspectives that, when fully developed, creates something extraordinary. It is like a diamond formed under pressure for years, deep within the earth, unique, valuable, and completely irreplaceable. The process of becoming a luxury is closely tied to what Jung called individuation, the journey of self-discovery and personal development that leads us to integrate all aspects of our being, even those we prefer to keep in the shadows. This journey is neither easy nor quick, but it is the only true path to authenticity, something the world desperately longs for. In today's society, where most people settle for existing on the surface, merely being another option in a sea of similarities, there lies an extraordinary opportunity for those who dare to dive deep into their own being. Within every person exists an internal world as vast as the universe itself, filled with archetypes, symbols, and unexplored potentials that, once awakened, not only transform the individual but also the way the world perceives them. You are about to embark on a transformative journey through 9 fundamental keys that will radically change how you see yourself, and consequently how the world sees you. These keys are not mere techniques or superficial tricks. They are gateways to deep aspects of your being. When opened, they release a personal power that naturally sets you apart from the masses. The path you are about to begin is not about becoming someone else, but about discovering and manifesting who you truly are. As Jung pointed out, the goal is not to be perfect, but to be complete. And it is in that completeness where the true luxury of being yourself resides, that state of being that makes others feel as if they have encountered something precious and unique in your presence. Prepare yourself to awaken aspects of yourself that you may not have known existed, to face truths that will challenge you, and to emerge as someone who does not need to strive to stand out, because your mere presence is enough to be unforgettable. This is the path of true luxury, the path of individuation that Jung showed us, and now it is about to begin. The first key to transforming yourself into a luxury lies in the power of authenticity, a concept that Jung considered fundamental to personal development. Jung discovered that most people live behind what he called the persona, a social mask we create to adapt to the expectations of our surroundings. While necessary in certain contexts, this mask can become a prison that distances us from our true essence. Today, social media and societal pressures constantly push us to create idealized versions of ourselves. This is why authenticity has become the scarcest and therefore the most valuable resource. When a person dares to show their true self, they create a deep resonance with others, something that no mask, no matter how polished, can ever achieve. Imagine a garden filled with perfectly cultivated flowers, all identical, pruned according to a specific pattern, and among them, a wildflower grows, unique in its shape and color. Even though it does not follow the established pattern, it is precisely its authenticity that makes it stand out, that makes it special. This is how authenticity works in people. You do not need to strive to fit in. When you allow yourself to be who you truly are, authenticity has a natural, magnetic power. When someone is genuinely themselves, without pretense, they create an invisible field of attraction that others instinctively feel. It's as if our collective unconscious recognizes and is drawn to the truth that this person emanates. This magnetism cannot be fabricated or imitated. It only emerges when we dare to strip away the layers of social conditioning and present ourselves as we truly are. Authenticity, according to Jung, does not mean exposing everything or lacking filters. On the contrary, it involves a deep self-awareness and the wisdom to express our truth consciously and appropriately. It's like an artist who fully understands their materials and knows how to use them to create something unique and meaningful. Your authenticity is your masterpiece. To develop this authenticity that will turn you into a rarity, you must embark on a journey of continuous self-exploration. Start by observing your automatic reactions, behavioral patterns, and the masks you wear in different situations. Not to judge them, but to understand them. How many of your daily actions are truly yours, and how many are programmed responses to external expectations? True authenticity emerges when you dare to question these automatic responses and consciously choose to be yourself, even when it means going against the current. It is in those moments of genuine self-expression that you become invaluable, a rarity that others seek and appreciate precisely because they cannot find it anywhere else. This process of discovering and expressing your authentic self is not a final destination, but a continuous journey. Every day presents new opportunities to choose authenticity over conformity, to reveal your true self instead of reflecting what others expect to see. With every authentic choice, you move further away from being just an option and closer to becoming that rare luxury that naturally stands out in a world full of imitations. Authenticity is the foundation upon which we will build the next key principles. Without it, any attempt to stand out will be superficial and temporary. With it, every step you take will bring you closer to becoming someone truly irreplaceable, someone others seek but only you can be. And if you're ready to take the first step on this journey toward authenticity, I invite you to reflect. What aspects of yourself have you been hiding for fear of others' judgment? Share these 3 words in the comments. I choose authenticity. This simple declaration will be the first step toward inspiring others to reveal their true essence and begin their own transformation into something extraordinary. The second key takes us into one of Jung's deepest concepts, the confrontation with our shadow. This often misunderstood aspect represents those parts of ourselves that we have rejected, hidden, or denied. Jung discovered that these parts do not simply disappear when we ignore them. They remain in our unconscious, influencing our behavior and how others perceive us. Paradoxically, integrating our shadow is one of the most powerful ways to become a true rarity. While most people live avoiding their darker aspects, those who dare to confront them develop a depth and authenticity that is magnetic to others. It's like an artist who not only uses bright colors, but also understands the power of shadows to create depth and dimension in their work. Jung emphasized that the shadow does not contain only negative traits, but also positive qualities we have repressed for various reasons. Perhaps your assertiveness was labeled as aggression in childhood, or your sensitivity was seen as weakness. These qualities, when recognized and integrated, become unique sources of personal power that set you apart from the masses. Imagine a pearl forming inside an oyster. What begins as an irritation, an uncomfortable grain of sand, gradually transforms into something precious. Similarly, those aspects of ourselves that feel uncomfortable or challenging can, when embraced and worked with, become our most valuable and distinctive traits. Integrating the shadow requires courage. It means honestly looking at those aspects of ourselves that we would rather ignore. How many times have you judged in others exactly what you fear to see in yourself? What bothers us most in others is often a reflection of our own unacknowledged shadow. By identifying and accepting these projections, we begin to develop an authenticity that naturally sets us apart. True transformation happens when we stop fighting against our shadow and learn to work with it. It is like an alchemist who does not reject any element, knowing that even the most basic substances are necessary to create gold. Our insecurities, fears, and rejected aspects, when consciously recognized and worked through, become the foundation of our uniqueness. This integration of the shadow allows us to develop a more complete and authentic presence. We no longer need to maintain a perfect facade because we have learned to embrace both our light and our darkness. This wholeness is what makes us truly unique and valuable, transforming us from a mere option into a rarity that others long to experience. The confrontation with the shadow marks the beginning of a profound transformation. As Jung pointed out, it is not about eliminating parts of ourselves, but about integrating them into a more complete and authentic whole. This integration allows us to move through the world with a presence that others perceive as extraordinary, precisely because it is real and complete, not an edited and superficial version of ourselves. The third key introduces us to the realm of conscious presence, an aspect that Jung considered fundamental to the development of the self. Presence is not merely being physically in a place, it is a state of deep connection with oneself that naturally radiates outward. In a world where most people operate on autopilot, distracted by constant external noise, developing conscious presence immediately sets you apart. Jung discovered that true presence emerges when we connect with what he called the self, the center of our psyche that integrates both the conscious and the unconscious. This connection generates a magnetic quality that others instinctively sense. It's like walking into a room and immediately noticing someone who, without doing anything in particular, captures everyone's attention. The development of this presence begins with mindfulness practice, but goes beyond simple observation. Jung emphasized the importance of maintaining a constant dialogue with our inner world while navigating the outer world. Think of a conductor who not only listens to each instrument individually, but also perceives the entire symphony. Similarly, conscious presence allows you to be fully attuned to your internal experience while engaging with the external world. This quality of presence has a transformative effect on how others perceive you. When you are truly present, people feel that they are genuinely seen and heard. In a world where most are mentally absent, preoccupied with their devices, or lost in their thoughts, this ability to be fully present becomes a rare and valuable luxury. Presence also grants us access to a deeper wisdom beyond ordinary intellect. It's as if, by being truly present, we tune into a subtler frequency of reality. This connection allows us to respond to situations from a place of intuitive understanding rather than reacting automatically. It also transforms the way we move through the world. Every gesture, every word, every silence becomes more meaningful because it emerges from a place of full awareness. There is no need to strive for attention when your presence naturally communicates something deep and authentic. This quality is what Jung identified as a manifestation of the integrated self, an expression of our most complete being. Developing this presence requires a commitment to the present moment, a willingness to fully experience each instant without escaping into the past or the future. It is like an anchor that keeps you centered in your truth while the world chaotically spins around you. This inner stability is what makes you a point of reference for others, someone whose presence is sought and valued precisely because it is unique and authentic. The fourth key takes us into the realm of high standards, a concept Jung closely associated with the archetypes that inhabit our collective unconscious. These archetypes, especially that of the king or queen, naturally propel us toward excellence and personal dignity. However, it is not simply about setting high expectations. It is about a sacred space around who we are and what we allow in our lives. Jung understood that the standards we set act as an invisible energetic field that influences how the world interacts with us. When we maintain high standards, not from arrogance, but from a deep respect for ourselves, we create what Jung called temenos, a sacred and protected psychological space where true transformation can occur. Just as the ancient Greeks considered temenos a sacred enclosure around their temples, we create a protected psychic space through our standards, where only what truly nurtures our growth can enter. The way we treat ourselves sets the precedent for how others will treat us. When a person maintains high standards in their life, from their thoughts to their relationships, they naturally attract experiences that reflect that level of dignity. There is no need to announce these standards. They manifest in every decision, every interaction, every choice we make. The king or queen archetype in our psyche reminds us that true nobility does not come from dominating others, but from governing ourselves with wisdom and dignity. This means being selective about what we allow in our lives, from the people we interact with to the experiences we choose to live. It is not about exclusion, but about conscious discernment, recognizing that not everything deserves a place in our sacred interior. Jung emphasized that maintaining high standards also means honoring our word, especially the promises we make to ourselves. When we commit to our own excellence, when we uphold our integrity even in small matters, we send a powerful message to the collective unconscious. This message resonates with others on a deep level, creating a natural attraction toward our presence. The key is to find the balance between being accessible and maintaining the sacredness of our temenos. It is not about building walls, but about establishing healthy boundaries that protect our essence. It is like a temple whose doors are open to those who seek sincerely, yet maintains an atmosphere of reverence that naturally inspires respect. High standards also reflect in how we handle challenges and failures. It is not about perfection, but about maintaining dignity even when things do not go as planned. This elegant resilience, this ability to remain composed under pressure, is what truly distinguishes us as a luxury in a world where most collapse at the slightest difficulty. The fifth key immerses us in what Jung called the process of individuation, a profound transformation he compared to the ancient practice of alchemy. Just as alchemists sought to transform base metals into gold, the individuation process seeks to transform our ordinary nature into something extraordinary. This personal alchemy is fundamental to becoming a luxury because it involves a transformation that goes beyond superficial changes. Jung discovered that this alchemical process of the psyche begins with what alchemists called nigredo, or the black work, a necessary period of psychological darkness. It is the moment when we experience a kind of symbolic death, where the rigid structures of our ego dissolve and we confront our darkest and most repressed psychic material. Like the dark night of the soul, this phase can be deeply disorienting. Yet within this apparent disintegration lies the potential for true transformation. The next phase, known as albedo, or the white work, represents the dawn of a new consciousness. It is when, after facing and accepting our shadows, we begin to experience moments of clarity and deep understanding. Jung observed that in this stage, we start to see our true nature, free from the projections and defenses that once clouded our perception. The final phase, rubedo, or the red work, symbolizes the complete integration of our psyche. It is the moment when the conscious and the unconscious, the luminous and the shadowy, unite in harmonious wholeness. Jung described this stage as the birth of the realized self, where our presence naturally radiates a quality that others perceive as extraordinary. This personal alchemical process requires patience and dedication. It is not something that happens overnight, but a gradual transformation that affects every aspect of our being. It is like the refining process of the finest wine. Each stage is essential and cannot be rushed. Haste, as Jung noted, is the enemy of true transformation. Personal alchemy also involves holding the tension between different aspects of our psyche without trying to eliminate any. It is like an artist who understands that both light and shadow are needed to create a masterpiece. As we advance in this process, our presence begins to change subtly yet profoundly, making us naturally valuable and unique, impossible to replicate or counterfeit. The sixth key takes us into what Jung considered the transformative power of the personal symbol. In his work, Jung discovered that each individual carries unique symbols that emerge from their unconscious, acting as bridges between their inner world and their external expression. These personal symbols are not mere images or marks. They are living manifestations of our psyche that, when consciously recognized and cultivated, can dramatically transform how we perceive ourselves and how others perceive us. Jung observed that the most powerful personal symbols often emerge during significant moments of transformation in our lives. They may appear in dreams, in images that inexplicably attract us, or in recurring patterns we notice in our experiences. Unlike signs, which merely represent something known, personal symbols contain living psychic energy and have the power to transform our consciousness. Imagine a centenary tree whose roots extend deep into the earth while its branches reach toward the sky. This symbol, for example, could emerge as a representation of your own growth process, connecting the depths of your unconscious with your highest aspirations. Jung pointed out that when we recognize and consciously work with these symbols, we begin to radiate a presence that others perceive as unique and magnetic. The power of the personal symbol lies in its ability to condense complex psychological truths into a form that our psyche can naturally integrate. It is as if each symbol were a unique key that opens specific doors in our consciousness. When we allow these symbols to guide our development, our presence acquires a depth and authenticity that naturally distinguishes us from the masses. Jung emphasized that our personal symbols evolve with us. They are not static, but transform as we grow and develop. This natural evolution of our symbols reflects our own individuation process, creating a unique energetic signature that others can feel, even if they cannot consciously articulate it. Working with personal symbols also helps us develop what Jung called the transcendent function, our ability to integrate seemingly opposing aspects of our psyche. Through symbols, we can hold and reconcile the paradoxes of our existence, developing a presence that does not need to resolve all contradictions to be powerful and authentic. This integration through the personal symbol creates an inner coherence that naturally reflects in our external presence. We no longer need to construct an artificial image of ourselves. Our personal symbols guide us toward an authentic expression that others instinctively recognize as true and valuable. It is this authenticity, symbolically integrated, that transforms us from a mere option into a luxury, something unique that cannot be replicated or substituted. The seventh key introduces us to a fascinating aspect of Jungian psychology: the integration of opposites. Jung discovered that within the psyche of every individual there exist seemingly irreconcilable polarities, and it is in the dance between these opposites that our true uniqueness emerges. It is not about eliminating one side to favor another, but about learning to hold the tension between both, thus creating a presence that is complete and naturally magnetic. At the heart of this integration lies what Jung identified as anima and animus, fundamental archetypes representing complementary aspects of our psyche. The anima, present in the male unconscious, embodies psychological feminine qualities that serve as a guide toward emotional depth and creativity. The animus, present in the female unconscious, represents psychological masculine qualities that facilitate logical thinking and direct action. When we consciously integrate these aspects of our psyche, we develop a presence that transcends conventional limitations, accessing a full range of human capacities. True sophistication emerges when we learn to manifest these complementary energies in our daily lives. Those who achieve this integration develop a unique presence that others find fascinating precisely because they cannot easily categorize it. It is like a fine wine that combines seemingly contradictory notes to create something extraordinary. This integration also manifests in our ability to navigate different social contexts without losing our essence. The anima allows us to access our intuition and sensitivity, while the animus provides clarity of thought and decisiveness. We do not need to choose one side over the other because we have learned to dance between these polarities with grace and authenticity. Jung emphasized that this integration is not a final state we reach, but a continuous process of dynamic balance, like an acrobat on a tightrope, constantly adjusting position to maintain equilibrium. This ability to maintain balance while navigating the polarities of life is what makes us truly unique and valuable. The integration of these complementary aspects allows us to develop a presence that is both accessible and mysterious, both clear and profound. We do not need to sacrifice one aspect for another because we have learned that it is precisely in the tension between these opposites where our personal power resides. This completeness is what transforms us into a luxury, something that others long to experience precisely because it embodies a more complete form of being human. The eighth key takes us into the realm of the hero's journey, a universal pattern that Jung identified in the process of personal transformation. This journey is not merely a metaphor, but a profound psychological map describing the process of becoming something extraordinary. Jung discovered that those who consciously embark on this journey develop a presence that naturally stands out from the crowd. The journey begins with what Jung called the call, the moment we recognize that we can no longer settle for being just another option. It is an inner awakening that drives us to seek something deeper, something more authentic. This call often manifests as an inner restlessness, a sense that we are meant for something greater than our current existence. Unlike the mythological hero who faces external dragons, our journey involves confronting our internal dragons, our fears, doubts, and self-imposed limitations. It is precisely in this confrontation that we develop the qualities that make us unique. Every obstacle overcome, every fear faced, adds a new dimension to our presence. The journey also includes what Jung called the encounter with the inner mentor, that aspect of our psyche that possesses a wisdom deeper than our conscious thought. As we learn to listen to and trust this inner guide, we develop a confidence that does not depend on external validation. This connection with our inner wisdom is what allows us to move through the world with an authenticity that others naturally respect. On this journey, we also encounter allies, people and circumstances that appear precisely when we need them. But the key is to recognize that these external allies are reflections of internal resources we already possess. This understanding allows us to maintain our autonomy while remaining open to the help the universe offers. The climax of the journey is not reaching a final destination, but understanding that we have become something new through the process itself. Jung emphasized that this transformation is not something we do once, but a continuous cycle of psychological death and rebirth. With each completed cycle, our presence becomes more refined, more authentic, more naturally magnetic. This personal heroic journey is what transforms us from a mere option into a luxury. Not because we become perfect or invulnerable, but because we have learned to embrace both our strengths and vulnerabilities with grace and authenticity. It is this completeness, this willingness to fully live our personal journey, that others instinctively recognize as something extraordinary and valuable. The ninth key guides us toward the most challenging and rewarding path Jung identified: writing our own story. This is not simply about narrating the events of our lives, but about consciously becoming the authors of our existence. Jung discovered that when a person assumes the responsibility of actively creating their life narrative, they develop a presence that naturally attracts others. This process of conscious authorship begins with the recognition that we are not mere spectators of our lives. Every decision, every action, every response to life's challenges is a brushstroke on the canvas of our personal story. When we become aware of this creative power, our presence subtly changes. We stop being secondary characters and become protagonists of our own narrative. The creation of our personal story involves what Jung called the realization of the personal myth, the process of discovering and consciously living the unique pattern underlying our existence. It is not about inventing a fantastic story, but about recognizing and honoring the true nature of our individual journey. This authenticity and personal narrative is what naturally distinguishes us from those who live predetermined roles. Jung observed that those who consciously assume authorship of their lives develop a quality he called personal authority, not a power over others, but a presence that emanates from the coherence between who we are and the story we are living. This personal authority manifests as a magnetic authenticity that others naturally respect and value. Writing our story also involves integrating our past experiences into a meaningful whole. It is not the events themselves that define us, but the meaning we give them and how we incorporate them into our story. By consciously writing our story, we also become what Jung called bearers of meaning. Our essence begins to communicate something deeper than words or actions. It transmits a sense of purpose and authenticity that others can intuitively feel. It is this quality that transforms us from a mere option into a luxury, into someone whose presence adds meaning and value to the lives of others. This ongoing dedication to consciously living and creating our personal narrative is what makes us extraordinary, a presence that naturally stands out in a world where most allow their stories to be written by others.